My good friend, who taught me a lot about the clarinet, was Pete Fountain. He was a good friend of mine since I was about 15 years old. My aunt Lillian Freeman, and her husband John Freeman were good friends with Pete's mechanic. And Pete had some race cars, you know, and I got to go up there and play for him. He was very nice, but we stayed friends. So when I would come visit him in his club, I could generally got in for free. I'd go upstairs and hang out with him. And well, I got to play for him a number of times, but I got to tell you, I'll never forget it as long as I live. He opened up his clarinet case, put his clarinet together, put his mouthpiece and reed on that he was going to use that night. People were already gathering around. And he played a few notes, and he handed me his clarinet with his mouthpiece and reed on. Said, "Try a few notes, son. You might find this helpful, make it easier." I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. And he was always trying to help, one way or the other. He was my main guy in New Orleans, Pete Fountain. We stayed friends to the very end. A very important man in my life, Pete Fountain, and I sure thank him.
Rick Bogart, whose roots stem from New Orleans, he was raised.
You know, there's 4 pronunciations of that city. Some people pronounce it New Orleans, some people say New Orleans. The locals pronounce it New Orleans, and the Cajuns pronounce it New Orleans. Way down yonder in New Orleans. So guess, where do you think I'm going when the wind starts blowing strong? Guess, where do you think I'm going when the night starts growing long? I ain't going east, I ain't going west, I ain't going over the cuckoo's nest. I'm bound for the town that I love second best, where life is one sweet song. Way down yonder in New Orleans, in the land of the dreamy seas, there's a garden of Eden, know what I mean? Creole baby with flashing eyes, softly whisper with tender sighs. Stop, oh, won't you give your lady fair a little smile? Stop, you bet your life you'll linger there a little while. So this is heaven right here on earth with those beautiful queens way down yonder in New Orleans. Yeah. Brother Cooney. Yonder in New Orleans, in the land of the dreamy seas, there's a garden of Eden, know what I mean? Creole baby, it's softly whisper with tender sigh. Stop, oh won't you give your lady fair a little smile? Stop, you bet your life you'll linger there a little while. So this is heaven right here on earth with those beautiful queens way down yonder in New Orleans.
Another trendsetter from New Orleans was Sidney Bechet. He was the first of the great clarinetists. Eventually, he moved to Paris, playing the soprano sax and influencing the great John Coltrane on that instrument. But while the masters of swing clarinet were his favorite, Rick Bogart found himself playing more in the New Orleans style of the likes of Irving Fazzola, a little-known though very talented player who had his own cult following.
Folks, this is the great Irving Fazzola. He beat Benny Goodman out in the polls during the swing era a number of times. He played an Albert System clarinet, and he decided to come home to New Orleans, and he left it all behind. He was a fabulous musician. He was Pete Fountain's favorite guy. He used to follow Irving around. Will you show me how to do this? Will you show me how to do that? And he was a getaway kid. He was a tough guy. But he got a little heavy, and when he left us, Irving's mother gave Pete Fountain his clarinet and his mouthpieces. And Pete Fountain played so many wonderful Irving Fazzola solos, and he was one of the greatest. And I'm so glad you can hear him play a little bit.
Others included the fiery Omar Simeon, who took a backseat to no one.
Omar Simeon, New Orleans jazz clarinetist. He studied with Lawrence Tio Jr., one of the first great clarinet players from New Orleans. He played another Albert System clarinet, worked with Jelly Roll Morton, moved to Chicago. He lasted until he was 57 years old. He was a fabulous guy, and to see him play is very special.
Well, I wouldn't say that I would try to emulate any one of them in particular. I try to take a little something and see if it will apply naturally to what I do.
Though we're apart, you part of me still. For you were my thrill. Are you ready? Come climb the hill with me, baby.
Rick Bogart's father came from the Catalan region of Spain many years ago, then settled in America, becoming a lawyer. Eventually, they settled in New Orleans with little Rick, and what a world it became for him. Music was everywhere.
The concert halls now are beginning to have more jazz than ever, and jazz is almost an umbrella term. Everybody that plays music or says they're a jazz musician has their own way of playing. Wynton Marsalis, he has his own way of playing jazz. His brother Branford has his own way. Terence Blanchard, he has his way. Harry Connick, he has his way of playing. It's always a little different from each person. And my old boss in New Orleans, Tom Jefferson, he had his own way. He was so fabulous I couldn't believe it. And I was thrilled to work with him. We worked at the famous door for a year and a half straight, 6 days a week, 12 noon to 5 in the afternoon. And of course, back then it was a union job. It was wonderful. He taught me a lot. He was a real character, but I loved him. I appreciated him and respected him.
He worked with all the greats in New Orleans. He was at the Paddock Lounge for many, many years, and about 50 others we could name. Thomas Jefferson, T.J., one of the greatest. Joe Robichaux, Octave Crosby, Stanley Williams, Snookum Russell. Snookum Russell, he gave me my first job in New Orleans. He was at the Paddock Lounge, the Linty's Paddock Lounge. He was a pianist, singer, and entertainer, and he surrounded himself with a good band. And he would start songs without telling anybody what they are or what the key was. And we all had to fall in just right. Well, I was a new guy on the band, and boy was I scuffling. But I liked Snookum. He was a fabulous guy. These were all my kind of people. I worked with them on and off, year in and year out. I'm happy to pay tribute to one of the fabulous people of that time, Mr. Snookum Russell. Murphy Campo, they all had their way, and New Orleans, you could learn and work with the greats down there. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from those guys. They were all 30, 40 years older than I was. They taught me a lot. I remember in New Orleans, the guys used to talk about a place in Cleveland, Ohio, called the Theatrical Grill. Then they called it the Theatrical Restaurant. It was a huge place. And they hired little jazz groups. God, they had Gene Krupa in there, they had Doc Severinsen, they had most of the named jazz players play there at some time. And Buddy Spitz, who took over after Mushy died, listened to my two little albums I had done in New Orleans. So he gave me 2 weeks in the middle of February in Cleveland. Boy, was that cold over there. But I took it, you know, and at least I was able to get started. When I first moved to New York, nobody would give me a job. But Buddy Spitz at the famous Theatrical in Cleveland did. I started working there and found 3 great musicians. This is Mr. James Boyd, better known as Jimmy Boyd. He worked alongside Tab Dameron as a arranger and composer. He worked with James Moody for many, many years. He's a #1 guy, and we sure had a good time in Atlantic City. And a good-looking guy on the bass fiddle is Mr. Chuck Jones, one of Cleveland's finest bass players. He worked with all the greats in the area, and we sure had a wonderful band with these wonderful Cleveland musicians, which I loved, all of them. This is Mr. Tony Haynes, one of Cleveland's finest jazz drummers, and we worked in Atlantic City for a while, and we really had a good time at the theatrical. This is Ron Watt, our good friend from Cleveland, a patron of the arts, published author, jazz fan, and he let us rehearse in his house with his fabulous grand piano.
During an engagement in Cleveland, Rick found a supporter in the person of John Richmond, the jazz critic of the Cleveland Plain Dealer.
Harks back to a style that was prominent in the 1930s, and that's basically the style of the swing era, but with a New Orleans accent. At this point in jazz history, we have the whole spectrum of jazz available to us in live performance. Everything from the early jazz of King Oliver up to the most avant-garde electronic jazz. And Rick is a part of that.
Step to the right, you'll see a little light. We'll hurry to my blue heaven.
When I started out at theatrical in Cleveland, I had what you might call an all-white band, because I had to use local men, and I couldn't bring them from New York because it was be too much, but they had some wonderful players. But I started working at theatrical, and I stayed there. Some of the guys dropped out, so I went to the union and asked them for a piano player, and they sent me a James Boyd, Jimmy Boyd. And then when the bass player dropped out, Jimmy got a friend of his, Chuck Jones, from Cleveland, to play the bass. But it ended up being from an all-white band to an all-black band. And I was working at Harrah's in Atlantic City. I had a fabulous job there for 14 years, let me tell you. And I brought them with me. They were very happy to go. And this was in the early 1980s, before it was fashionable. But they were friends. I only knew them as friends. We worked together on the bandstand. That's rather personal if you really think about it.
Unfortunately, instruments like the clarinet have taken a back seat to more modern-day music makers like electric guitar and synthesizers. But you put an instrument like the clarinet in the hands of a master like Rick, and it's music to anybody's ear.
I think it's fantastic. It's the first time I've heard Rick, and I do like jazz, but I am a novice.
As far as I'm concerned, jazz will never take a back seat to any musical form. Jazz is it.
A lot of them just like to have something else to listen to besides what they hear on the radio all the time. Maybe something a little more mellow, something a little more laid back.
We have, over the last 25 years, we've had a lot of good jazz groups. Rick is one of the best. He's probably one of the best clarinetists that's come into this city.
The timing is just right. As today's modern music is becoming increasingly stale, the second generation of jazz greats like Rick are ready to capture a new audience. Man on Music, Dave Tarbert for Live on 5.
Someone who heard him play and who had some connections of her own was Ethel Gabriel, who was with RCA Records from 1940 to 1982, having been associated with the Benny Goodman records of those days. Now she's the owner of Jazz Mania Records.
She was the only woman in the A&R department, and she was far more competent than all the rest of the guys, including me.
A trailblazing record producer who worked on thousands of records, but who many people have never heard of.
Most women in that era didn't stay in the industry more than a few years, so Ethel was and is really special.
You have to love what you're doing. You cannot contrive being a successful musician. You have to have it in you. You really have to have the feeling, and Rick has it. I go to clubs often, and it takes a lot to get interested in what I'm listening to. Something really has to spark me. As the night was going on, it was such a refreshing experience to hear Rick play jazz the way I remember it when Benny Goodman was playing it and when Artie Shaw was playing it. It brought back that same feeling.
You're so supreme. Lyrics are right up your sleeve. Just for the sight of you dream. Both day and night of you air. Good does it do? I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
When I was a teenager learning jazz, I only had one photo on my wall, and that was a photo of Louis Armstrong.
I only went to see this movie because Louis Armstrong was singing in it. And you're going to remember this song. It goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, Dolly. Well, hello, Dolly. It's so nice to have you back where you belong. You're looking swell, Dolly. I can tell, Dolly. You still growing, you still glowing, you still going strong. I feel the room swaying for the bands playing one of our old favorite songs from way back when.
Well, in high school, I was trying to learn jazz. I was a first chair player, and I really liked Louis Armstrong. I just liked the musicians that sang.
I feel the room swaying for the band.
One thing I would say, you know, you only be as good as your ear is, and that's the purpose of solfege, training your ear. And whatever you do, whatever kind of music it is, that comes into play.
Darling, never stay away. Darling, never go away again. Great jazzman out of New Orleans, Louis Satchmo Armstrong. He had a lot of hits. Hello, Dolly. Cabaret, Blueberry Hill, give me a kiss to build a dream on. The Basin Street Blues, the Yellow Dog Blues, the Memphis Blues. Here's one you might remember. It's called What a Wonderful World. So I know I've waited, I know I've been blue. Prayed each night for someone exactly like you. So why should we spend money? I said on a show or two. No one does those love scenes exactly like you. You make me feel so grand. I wanna hand the world to you. You seem to understand. Foolish little scheme I'm scheming, and the dream I'm dreaming. 'Cause now I know my mama, she just taught me to be true. She made me for somebody. Pale moon shining on the fields below. Folks are crooning songs soft and low. You needn't tell me so, because I know when it's sleepy time down south, yes. Soft winds blowing through the pinewood trees. Folks down there, they live a life of ease. When my mammy falls on her knees, when it's sleepy time down south, oh yeah. Steamboats up the river, they're coming and they're going, splashing the night away. Hear the banjos ringing, the folks are singing. They dance till the break of day. Dear old Southland with your dreamy song, take me back there where I belong. When my mammy falls on her knees, shabu dabu dabu shaga daga digga say, zaza zizi zazi 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 zaza zaza za. Good evening, everybody. Oh, thank you. Thank you, folks.
And while growing up, Rick listened to the great ones.
I like Benny Goodman for his technique and his drive, his flair and improvisation. When I first came to New York, of course, the guy I wanted to meet was Benny Goodman. So I found out where he lived, you know, Manhattan House. And, I went over there, and they said he had a little apartment that he used as an office on the second or third floor. So I left 2 albums for him that I recorded in New Orleans. A couple of days later, I called him and I talked to him a little bit. He asked me some questions, and he said that he swims every day that he can at an apartment house a couple of blocks away. He invited me to go swimming. So I'm walking around the pool, and the lifeguard says, "You know who that guy is there, don't you, that you came in with?" I said, yeah, that's Benny Goodman, the king of swing. He said, no, around here, that's Benny Goodman, the king of swim.
My blue heaven, you see smiling face, a fireplace, a cozy room, a little nest that's nestled where the roses bloom. Just Molly and me, and baby makes three. We're happy in my baby, my blue heaven.
And then Artie Shaw, I liked him for his style of improvisation, but I always thought he had a really lovely sound.
Artie Shaw? Who's Artie Shaw?
Now that's the only thing I've plenty of, baby. No one you just can't run. Wish you do happiness now and I guess. Should I do some joy? I'd love to see you look so well. Baby, the diamond races, Macy's, they don't sell it no more.
When I was a teenager, I took 3 clarinet lessons and said, this is just too difficult, and I was too lazy and undisciplined. Then I discovered the tenor saxophone, and I realized I could get some gigs, actually earning some money, playing the saxophone and just honking on one note, because in those days it was very popular to be a honker. R&B, rhythm and blues, rock and roll, just getting underway. This is the mid-50s. So that's my clarinet story. Yes, Rick can play the clarinet. He does have his own style, his own approach, his own voice. And that has led to various recording sessions featuring some of the better players of this music called jazz, born in New Orleans.
In 1989, I sold short. In England, I'm presented at court. You got me so downhearted, 'cause I can't.
It's up to me. I have to find my own way. It's different today. It's not where you can just do things the way they were done and play songs the way they were. A person has to have musical integrity, but I have to find my own way, and I'm going about it slowly, but I'm going about it. My concerto for clarinet and orchestra.
Out of the blue for you, I'll make a string of pearls out of the dew. For you, over the highway and over the streets, carpets of clover I'd lay at your feet. Oh, there's nothing in this world I wouldn't do for you.
clarinet is higher than any instrument. It's the highest instrument in the band.
The clarinet also meant something very special to a great singer.
I was introduced to Frank Sinatra one evening in Atlantic City. He says, the clarinet reminds me of success. At the Paramount, I was on the bill, Benny Goodman was on the bill. It was my first success, major success. I remember the sound of the clarinet. It brings back good memories. And he said, I'm going to come in to see you.
I was involved with the Amy Winehouse Foundation through my friends at Macy's, who were good friends with her father, Mitch Winehouse. He was a singer. So they brought Mitch Winehouse to the place where I was playing and told him he could sing with my band. And he listened to the band and he was happy to sing. Now we did a lot of things together with Mitch. He told me how he taught Amy to sing and a lot of personal things. And we ended up doing a benefit for the Amy Winehouse Foundation, which is a foundation to help keep children off drugs and alcohol and get them instruments and musical instruction, because there's not much going on in that in the schools now. So anyway, he would sing with the band a lot. And we did this benefit with the Amy Winehouse Foundation at the Waldorf Astoria. We took 2 whole floors. The place was packed.
Rick came off the road for a while, preferring to stay in one place, even though he could have been traveling and playing much more often.
I was very happy 10 years ago traveling and working around the country on the average of 40 weeks a year, because that's what I truly felt I needed and wanted to do. If I'm going to do it, I want to have the experience, and I would rather learn it and have it down under my belt and then try to be successful.
Grab your coat, get your hat, leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street.
In New York these days, Rick finds some of the better musicians in all of the jazz world to play with, like the bassist Leonard Gaskin, who played with Louis Armstrong's band that also featured another of Rick's favorite clarinetists, Barney Bogart. Leonard also played with the other end of the jazz musical spectrum in the mid-1940s, when he was with this group featuring Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, and Dexter Gordon.
Rick is a very inventive dude. I mean, he plays a strange-looking clarinet with gold keys, but he has a good sound, and I guess that's primarily what's important.
Well, Leonard Gaskin was one of the great jazz players of all time, in my opinion. He worked with Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, and believe me, he was #1 call in New York for most recordings in the jazz field. And there's some wonderful photos of him that I have on the show. Leonard Gaskin was a great person. He lived a very simple, straightforward life. He knew how to live life, but he knew how to play the bass and play music. He's worked with everybody, and I'm thrilled that he worked with me a lot. We did a lot at Birdland, and he always was just as beautiful as could be. And we all miss him in New York to this day. Leonard Gaskin. I think the first time we got together was for a recording session. And he was so fabulous. I said, I didn't think he'd worked his little job I had. But he said, sure. He worked a lot of places around New York. He was humble. And you wouldn't believe it for the things that he's done in his life and experience. He was pretty down to earth. He was fabulous.
What is fascinating about this music, when, for instance, Rick plays with Leonard Gaskin, he knows he's playing with someone who has a piece of history connected to him. He was there on the stage playing next to and with Louis Armstrong. You don't get any greater than that. Louis Armstrong is the #1 individual in the music of jazz. There's also a picture of Leonard Gaskin with Charlie Parker, Dexter Gordon, Miles Davis at Birdland. I mean, that picture doesn't exist in history books. So all of this, it's whenever you're with someone who has been with the greats, you just have that little feeling of you were part of it too, because there's that osmosis, there's that association that comes out of that, and it's just, you just can't buy it. You can't pay for it. It's just, it's spiritual.
Cooney. Well, he's a dear friend, a great musician, one of the great jazz pianists out of Japan. He was with Lionel Hampton for about 14 years. Cooney, he's a great personality at the piano. Not only a great player, but he's a great personality. We're still working together.
That's Brother Cooney at the piano.
He's very upbeat, and his playing is very upbeat, and I love it.
I love it.
I like his playing. I like him as a person. He's just it's a blessing.
Give my hand, Brother Cooney McCommon.
I think I've been to 85 countries, and this is no joke. I can explain it a little bit. I had a job. You know, they have jazz cruises once a year or twice a year where they have jazz musicians go out on a jazz cruise. Well, I was working in Atlantic City. I had a nice presentation and a nice act, and the agents here, there was a big agency here in New York that booked headliners on cruise ships. So they tried me out on one, and I did good. And I stayed as a headliner on cruise ships for about 5.5 years until 9/11. Then it changed a little bit, but I stayed on after that.
And to do this, it helps to have musicians who like to play with you.
I really enjoy playing his music because it's an older style than I normally play, and I enjoy the early swing style because it's such a basis for all the other kinds of music that I'm involved with as well. So it's nice to get into those roots.
He's introduced me to some songs that I've never heard before, never played before, and going back into the New Orleans tradition, which is a tradition that I'm not exactly from. I'm sort of a bebop player, and I have been for years, but it's taken me into a place where I say, gee, there are so many songs that I don't know.
One place that I really remember very well, and I was there for 6 months. They kept extending my contract. It was French Polynesia. We started out in Papayete, Tahiti, then we went to Moorea, Huahine, Raiatea, Bora Bora, Mahina, and Otamuuru. We made these rounds, these islands, and did that for 6 months. I got a scuba diving license. I was in the water every day. Even on show days, I got in the water. Well, you know, it's natural. This is my wife, Cynthia. She is an environmentalist in New York City. I'm very proud of her. I thank her for marrying me and sticking with me through 35 years in the music business. I can't imagine life without her.
In 1999, Rick was seen in an HBO movie starring Susan Sarandon. You can hear his clarinet throughout a dance hall sequence.
Every time I hear Rick play, it seems to me that he is talking to his audience with a great deal of truth and authenticity.
So I can't give you anything but love, baby. Now Well, that's the only thing I've plenty of, baby. Dream of one that you just came a while. Wish you do find happiness now, and I guess should you do so? Gee, I love to see you looking so well, baby. The diamond bracelets, Macy's, they don't sell it no more. Shag-a-dag-a-dag, till that lucky day, you know not. Ooh, well, baby, I can't give you anything but love. For someone exactly like you. So why should we spend money? I said on a show or two. No one does those love scenes exactly like you. You make me feel so grand. I wanna hand the world to you. You seem to understand. Foolish little scheme I'm scheming, and the dream I'm dreaming, 'cause now I know my mama, she just taught me to be true. She made me for somebody. I know I'm waiting, well, I know why I've been blue. Prayed each night for someone. Now I know my mama, she might have taught me to be true. She made me for somebody exactly like you. You make me feel so grand. I want to hand the world to you. You seem to understand. Foolish little scheme I'm scheming, and the dream I'm dreaming. 'Cause now I know my mama, she just taught me to be true. She made me for someone. She made me for someone. She made me for someone exactly like you. Put down the knitting, the book, and the broom. Time for a holiday. Life is a cabaret of charm. Come to the cabaret. Come taste the wine. Come hear the band. Come blow your horn, start celebrating right this way. Your table's wait. Start by admitting from cradle to tomb. Well, it isn't that long a stay. Life is a cabaret of a charm. Come to the cabaret. Hello, darling. Well, hello, darling. It's so nice to have you back where you belong. You're looking swell, darling. I can tell, darling. You still growing, you still glowing, you still going strong. I feel the room swaying for the bands playing one of our old favorite songs from way back when. So show some snap, fellas, find her an empty lap, fellas. Darling, you'll never go away again. I feel the room swaying for the bands playing one of our old favorite songs from way back when. So show some snap, fellas, find her an empty lap, fellas. Down you'll never